Well, hello, Mayor Jen. So, for those of you who don't know, this is Mayor Jen Sciortino. So, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, Jen Sciortino. I've lived in Bordentown for almost 2 decades now. First got involved.
Oh, you're officially a Bordentown. It takes 20 years.
I thought it was 5 generations. Time flies when you're having fun though. I can't believe it has been 2 decades. I got involved quickly by accident because a stray cat wandered onto our porch one time. So I ran out, called Bordentown City Cats to see if they could help. And what they do well, in true fashion, was suck you in to help as well.
Yep.
So before I knew it, I was running that organization. And I mean, I fell in love with Bordentown right out of the gate. I've been recruiting people to move here, mostly in jest, but also seriously, I've had so many coworkers move here over the years because of how much I talked about my love for this town and the community and the quality of life. So eventually that inspired me to really dig in and give back to the community that I love so much.
So, going off of your answer there, so what really inspired you to run?
I've worked in government for almost 30 years now, so I intuitively have that sort of background. Government communications in particular, which is keeping the public informed on a variety of issues. I started out at the local level, went on up to the state level for the last 20 years. So I've gotten to see what happens when government actually works well for people, the good it can do, and I've also seen what happens when things break down and how frustrating it can be to get anything accomplished. So I wanted to be a part of the solution.
All right, now we're going to jump into it. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, let's go. So, the city runs on 3 commissioners, a small professional staff, and many volunteers. How will you make sure those elected officials, staff, and volunteer organizations work together effectively?
I think it all comes down to leadership. I've tried to lead by example. One of the things I heard when I was running the first time was that people were afraid to even come to the monthly commissioner meetings because they felt like they were berated or weren't taken seriously. I've tried to change the entire discourse. I think we've elevated it. In the process, I think it's strengthened the social fabric of our community. I really appreciate volunteers. Tried to be there for them, help them get the answers and the resources they need, because they just do so many amazing things. All the things that people love about this town really come from our committees and organizations. I've always been one to bring people together, honestly. Never had a divisive approach, so a little bit more of the same, but also recognizing where we need to do more at and chipping away at those things.
So, how can you ensure you will keep residents, how will you keep residents informed and involved?
So we've started chipping away at that. That was a big thing I ran on last time, was improving communication. I helped create our first social media channel. So now we have near daily updates coming out that were non-existent 4 years ago. Also spearheaded development of a new city website. City Hall has taken the lead on that. Came out great. It's got an app now that also has push notifications. So those things were all non-existent 4 years ago, but there's definitely more channels we can tap into. Would love to see the newsletter get back underway. One thought was to hire an intern to try and help that.
Oh, that'd be a good
because
idea.
we are very short-staffed.
Yeah.
That's really the only reason we aren't doing more. We have a very lean staff, and there's only so many hours in a day. So yeah, bringing back the newsletter I know people loved, and getting more updates out there personally. That had been my goal from day one, but I guess I underestimated how much actual work goes into governing, keeping up on messages and whatnot. So at the end of the day, sometimes lights go out unexpectedly before I got to post updates.
Oh, I'm sorry, I lost where I was. So, please explain how you'll handle disagreements on the commission while keeping the city's best interests first.
Again, a little bit more of the same. I like to think I bring people together. There were an enormous amount of personality conflicts when I got here. I think I've managed to somehow work with everybody by trying to focus on the positive. Let's keep the drama out of the way. Focus on policies and the substance of what we came here to try to do. And honestly, I think with this entire slate of candidates, that won't be an issue. I think they all genuinely have Bordentown's best interests at heart.
How will you ensure underrepresented voices are heard? And where, as an example, so say seniors in town, people don't have access to social media, internet. How can you ensure they're represented?
We need to do more to reach them where they are then, whether it's showing up at the seniors daily at Cars Lake, the newsletter I mentioned. We can very easily produce paper copies to bring to those populations. We talked about when the newsletter was going on, we talked about having paper version available upon request, so that's something we can pursue.
That's a good idea, yeah.
And just staying active in the community, being out there, because that's how you get to hear these issues that are bubbling and meet more constituencies that you might not otherwise.
Well, I saw you too. What was this last year? I went in to get a coffee at Turtle Beans, and there you were outside. Someone came up to you. Are you mayor? And then you get into a conversation.
You introduced me.
I see. Yeah.
I don't know if they lived here, but yes, being out and about is the easiest way to stay connected to what's going on and where people's needs are.
So where can voters find your platform and campaign information? Website, social media?
Social media this time around. No website, so it's at B-Town Mayor Jen, both on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, and if they wanted signs or how to otherwise support your campaign, they can get in touch with you through there then too?
Just DM me, yes.
All right. Okay, so with limited resources and recent school budget shortfalls, how will you balance fiscal responsibility while meeting residents' needs, such as taxes, essential services?
So we've had to get creative because most people, especially those who come to monthly meetings, know funding has been super tight ever since Point Breeze was purchased. There were, I think, a lot of needs that nobody had assessed or expected. So we've had to really tighten our belts these last 4 years. We've chipped away anywhere from 5 to 10% of budgets across the city, across all departments. It's helping to ease the crunch, but I don't know how much more we have that we can really chip away at. Because, for instance, our firefighters, we know that has had a real impact on them. So what we've done is tried to find other resources. The open space tax program that was approved, that's going to really help us use that money to update our parks, our open spaces, our historic spaces. We've had no money for that, and that's a constant request. People love those things, understandably. There are other things when it comes to public safety, for example, other mechanisms, state laws that we can try and take advantage of. One is a fire taxing district. I don't know if there's an appetite, but we do have a public safety task force right now that is reviewing everything holistically and will hopefully give us recommendations before the new year to see how we can make sure they have the resources they need. And so we just need to be creative, I think, until we get, back fully in the green from paying for the things we need to transition out to Point Breeze long term. State grants, obviously. Mm-hmm. We've been successful at securing several million for needs at Point Breeze and the Park Street pedestrian paths. So I should have started with that because that's been a huge help in funding the needs out there.
I saw that post on the city page about that with Troy Singleton. Yep. Name your top priority for Bordentown over the next 3 years and the specific steps and funding strategies. I mean, you just mentioned grants or bonds, public-private partnerships.
Mm-hmm. Wait.
Oh, wait. That was my fault. I messed up in the beginning. Okay. Name your top priority for Bordentown over the next 3 years and the specific steps and funding strategies.
Honestly, my top priority doesn't require any funding, and that's just to create a more responsive government, because I think if we do that, everything else will fall into place. And what I mean by that is that people shouldn't have to jump through hoops, whether it's small business owners or residents, to get their concerns addressed. And I see that with this crop of candidates that's here now. They all want the same thing in terms of making it life easier for people. So if we bring together groups that are have that as their number one goal, a lot of the other things will fall into place, whether it's going after more grants to make those needs possible or being creative in other ways to make sure we can do what we have to do.
Now, can you be specific about whether you support selling the water utility to New Jersey American Water or other similar proposals, and why?
No, absolutely not. I don't know where that's been coming from.
Well, you know what? It
lately,
was a question on
but-
Facebook, like
Okay.
when I posed, like, open it up.
There were a number. Well, so the water department has come a long way in the last, I guess, year and a half since we had an issue at the plant, and even before that, we've started to reinvest in that. And there's a lot going on right now that's bolstering the quality and the quantity of water. So I think we're in a really good position. It's a city-owned asset that has been around for a very long time, and I think it benefits us to have control over the quality and the rates too.
Okay, now on to public safety. So public safety is a top concern, from speeding, traffic safety, to police responsiveness. What specific fundable actions would you take to improve police service and daily safety?
We've been talking about this a lot lately. One of the silver linings of not having a public safety director this year is that I've been working with Chief a lot more on a lot of things to help fill that void. And speeding, he's well aware of that. It's a definite concern. We're talking about getting things you put in the middle of the road to kind of slow traffic, get people to slow down. Talking about having some more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Patrol?
Speed traps? Not necessarily.
Okay.
In problem areas, because I've been noticing it along Crosswicks a lot lately. So we are well aware. There's also Burlington and Farnsworth intersection where we have some planned improvements on the horizon that usually catch a lot of speeders coming into town. And I'd like to take advantage whenever we're repaving a road as part of our water main replacement to get the big writing. You'll see it on Oliver Street. It's huge lettering that says stop, slow down, pedestrian crossing, and you have no choice but to look and slow down. So I think we should use that more effectively. Larger crosswalks on Farnsworth as well.
So if you were given $25,000 today, not just for yourself, to advance your public safety plan, how would you spend it, and what would your success look like?
Well, first of all, I think we all don't realize how many requirements there are for public projects, legal requirements. So 25 does not go nearly as far as most of us think. But I think at this point in time, it's making sure our firehouses in particular, have the resources they need. We saw when Heather had rang the alarm bells on what funding cuts were doing to them. It not only impacts their ability to train, it impacts our homeowners insurance rates and public safety in general. So at this point, I think firefighting would be the area I would concentrate it on largely, because PD, even though we've had to cut some of their budget, they have most of the resources they need at the moment. So I think our fire teams really need that money at the moment.
Okay. All right, on to the big ones now. Sidewalk repairs, abandoned vacant properties. Somebody said, for example, the former gas station at Farnsworth and 130, or the Ocean Spray site, and downtown parking are frequent concerns. So we have a couple questions about these topics. So first, how will you ensure timely sidewalk repairs, and also clarify homeowner versus city responsibility?
That's been a huge topic of conversation for a while now. So one of the things we're in the process of doing is creating an inventory. We've had our new interim administrator, as well as a number of community members. The Bordentown Area Running Club has been a huge asset. They created an interactive Google map of problem areas. So we're working with them, with the own inventory we've been doing, to prioritize them in terms of need, because there's only a finite amount of money every year. So to hopefully try and tackle them in order of need to reduce, hazards, the biggest hazards as they come. What was the rest of the question?
Where was I? And clarifying homeowner versus city responsibility.
Oh,
that's confusing. I went to one of the meetings a couple years ago when I fell. and
It
it's a little confusing for people.
because we have city planted trees and trees that homeowners are some other way they've gotten up.
Yeah.
We need to get something on our website. We've talked about that for a while. I'm not sure why we haven't, but a sort of a 1, 2, 3 step tutorial for people when they have a tree concern and they want to know how to address it. The simplest way, the deputy mayor says a lot, is when it snows, do you shovel your sidewalk or do you expect the city to? That's typically how you think of trees. But like we said, with the shade tree, planted trees, it gets a little murkier. So you can always call City Hall, call Gina Figurata. She has an inventory. She could probably tell you off the bat if it's a city planted tree or otherwise.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And how will you bring problem properties back into productive use while addressing environmental or vandalism issues?
So we're working on that right now as well. We're in the process of updating our redevelopment plan. Ocean Spray has now been vacant for over 10 years, and we need to get tougher on that. So one of the things we're doing is we asked the planning board to take a look at whether we need to add eminent domain into the redevelopment plan, which for those who don't know means the governments have a right to pay fair market value for that property if it's not serving the public's greater good, and repurpose it for another reason. It's not something I do lightly because my family was harmed by that 20 years ago, and I said I would never touch it. But in this case, we have an out-of-state developer who appears to have zero interest in Bordentown and its best interest. So I think it's a tool that we legitimately have to look at right now. On a more positive note, though, our redevelopment plans are also looking to include former City Hall and Clare Estate, which we've been meeting with the owner there. She's looking to do mixed use, both affordable housing for seniors and those with disabilities.
Oh, that's great.
Combined with some market rate housing
Where I'll
as
be
well,
one day.
which we sorely need because we've seen how the price of homes has gone up astronomically.
Well, you know what, and you're also addressing, this was my huge thing during the master plan meetings I went to, is aging in place.
Exactly. No offense, but I've had you in mind a lot as we're having these discussions.
Thank you.
Neither one of us are spring chickens
No,
anymore.
we're not. As long as I have a place for me and my cats, that's all I care
Well,
about.
and that's what I said. And one of the things we've been talking about when we've had these meetings, I asked first right out of the gate is there a local preference for people who are residents here for that very reason? And the answer, I believe, is yes. So we can prioritize residents of the community when it comes to getting them into the new housing.
And that's such a beautiful, I worked there for a while. It's such a beautiful old building.
It is. It's historic.
It is. It needs to be
preserve it.
saved.
Yep.
It was always somewhere we wanted to go as kids when the nuns were there, because we weren't allowed on the property. And then there I
Usually
was.
people ran from the nuns who wanted to go there.
Well, because they took a vow of silence, so it was like a curiosity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess.
Something I don't know about is silence.
Same.
All right, now here is a doozy. How will you solve the parking shortage? Do you support parking meters, paid parking? If not, what are some of your other alternatives?
So that's been a big focus of the past year, finally. I'll be honest, when I first got here, I was told by a cohort, you're never going to solve parking. And I just thought that was such a black and white way to look at this issue. And I think that the whole slate of candidates we have right now are all equally committed to chipping away at the problem. So you may have seen we just put up signs all over town trying to encourage and direct visitors to go to the train station. That's one way. We're meeting with the DBA as we speak, trying to get an agreement with especially the restaurants to require employees to park down there as well, because we know anecdotally we've seen that that's when the streets get most crowded and there's no turnover for 4 or 5, even 8, 10 hours a day when they're there. So we're trying to do that. We're looking to do like 15-minute grab and go parking spots to make it easier for people to come and go and get something rather than being discouraged and going to Starbucks drive-through, if they have a spot that's typically open. Hopefully Turtle Beans and Smachna would benefit from that. Regulating loading zones and times so that we don't have the big trucks blocking the whole street, especially at a really inconvenient time. So we're exploring that at the moment. We've identified some areas and times. Increasing the shuttle. I know Carlita is ready and willing to work longer
Yeah,
hours.
and she's so beloved in town. Everybody loves her.
Yeah, she really is. She's the best. That's a few that come to mind off the top of my head, but there are so many other ways we can chip away at it. Using parking lots more strategically to get more spaces out of them. Public-private partnerships in that respect.
How will you balance new development while preserving Bordentown's historic character and affordability for current residents?
Well, that's why we're putting together the redevelopment plans right now. The third one I forgot to mention was former City Hall. We want to make sure that whatever we do, it meets our current needs, but exactly what you said, it preserves our historic character. So if that means the facades need to stay in line with, the typical character of the downtown historic district, that's one way. Making sure that whatever the uses are too are things that people want and need, not just something random to benefit somebody else's interests.
Yeah.
So having the redevelopment plan, in place also gives us tools like tax incentives and other state grants and whatnot that they can take advantage of, which means we have a better ability to attract the type of developers we want instead of just being stuck with the ones who can afford to come here. And obviously community input once we get them to the table.
Describe community building initiatives you would start or expand to strengthen civic ties, such as Parks and Rec programs, Historic Preservation Commission, public events.
All of the above, can I say that?
Yeah.
We're actually, I keep saying we're working on it, but we are. There's so many irons in the fire, to borrow a phrase I've been using a lot lately. Historic Preservation Commission, I've been promising a number of folks we were going to get that up and reconstituted for the last year or two, and it's just, fires creep up and it has to get put on the back burner for a little while. But I want to see that get done now, especially when we have this development brewing, because we, like I just said, we want to make sure the things that come into town comport with the historic character instead of destroying it. I also started a volunteer retreat the first year I was in office, and I thought it was great. We got everybody together for a Saturday morning at Old City Hall.
Oh, it's like all the volunteer groups in town.
All the volunteer
groups.
That's
a good idea.
I wanted to do that yearly. Unfortunately, again, life happens.
Yeah.
I would love to bring that back because it's great for them to share ideas, to know they're appreciated, especially, and to make sure everybody knows what's expected of them, because a lot of times volunteers have gotten I guess, felt less than appreciated.
Yeah.
So definitely want to make sure they feel valued because they bring so much to our community.
Oh, they do so much here. Mm-hmm. They really do.
Parks and Rec, we do have a Parks Committee. Parks and Recreation Commission, I believe, is a slightly different thing. And I think it could be worth pursuing, or at least taking a look at once the open space funding starts coming in, because we'll have a greater use for more hands to help with that.
Which department, Public Works, Finance, Public Safety, would you ideally like to oversee as commissioner? And what qualifications or experience make you the best fit to manage its day-to-day operations?
At this point, I think I'm going to stick with what I know and what I've spent the last 4 years learning, which is revenue and finance. Having a treasury background too, also in my day job, also helped prepare me for that a little bit. But I love all the departments because it's interesting to see how they impact people's lives directly. That would probably be the one thing that makes me hesitant with revenue and finance, because it's kind of behind the scenes. You're not interacting so much day to day, whereas public works and police have like tangible impact on people's lives. But I'd be more than happy to stick with my department, especially if we have 2 other supremely qualified people to run the other departments.
Now, there is one thing I do want to address. I've been asking everybody the same questions, but this also did come up at every interview I have done so far, which is the missing commissioner of the past 7 months. So, I just feel like, to be fair, to bring that up to you,
to discuss this.
since everybody else brought it up, this is something maybe I think. So there is one more thing I'd like to, bring up. I know I've been asking everybody the same questions, But one thing that has come up in all these interviews is, the lack of the third commissioner we've had the past 7 months. So I think, out of fairness, I think, people deserve an answer.
Sure.
Not only,
Yeah.
but also give you an opportunity, to address this as of,
Sure, I'd be happy to. I mean, I'll tell you what I said at public meeting after this unfortunately transpired. Few people were more upset than me because I understood all the important things that were on the horizon this year in particular for public safety. With police needing to get into their new building. They were having a lot of retirements, so they needed to fill positions. EMS is coming up. That contract is coming up for renewal in a year, so we need to figure out what we're doing there. Like I said, fire is struggling primarily because of lack of support. So to leave it abandoned was a true disservice to people. I'd like to think I helped pick up the slack a lot, working with the chief to get his positions filled, helped get the public safety task force off the ground. But back to your actual question, sorry, I'm on a tangent. I put forth 4 vetted and supremely qualified people that Deputy Mayor refused to consider without any public explanation. I also considered 2 of his appointments, one of which turned out to not be interested because he wasn't vetted at all. The other of which there was a clear conflict with our anti-nepotism policy because we would have been putting this person in charge of police while 2 of her sons were working there. But still, in the interest of compromise and knowing how bad it would be to leave that position open, I was willing to compromise on that candidate if we could find a way to switch her departments. And he expected me to switch my department, which not only is a lot of gravitas, it would have been one of the worst decisions we could possibly make, given the long, volatile history between all of those individuals. So somebody decided it was better to keep that position vacant for 9 months, and it wasn't me, and it wasn't for lack of trying. Because I'll tell you, 2 of my nominees were deputy commissioners of state departments. They could have hit the ground running without question in this position. Another is someone we all know and love, who is a former Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, heads up our Veterans Committee, runs our Residents Association, and also would have been supremely qualified. And the 4th was Ed Foley IV, who many people lobbied both of us to support. And I unequivocally did because I put him forth right from the get-go. And for whatever reason, he was not considered qualified either, even with his firefighting background.
All right. Well, listen, I just wanted to give the residents an opportunity because that question, even not on Facebook, but in the past so many months, that just keeps coming up, and I just think
They
everybody
do
had
deserve
tonight.
an answer, and I'll say I was going to put out a statement at the time. It was sort of a tense issue, and I felt like that would have stoked the flames. So rather than put out something, we addressed it at a monthly commissioners meeting when it came up. So it wasn't that there was no answer given to anybody, but in the interest of trying to move on and now do the work that we have to do, I thought it was better not to
All
send
right.
something far and wide.
Well, thank you for addressing that and
You're
for
welcome.
telling the residents, letting them know. So I know we went over so much today and so many questions. Is there anything that I didn't cover or any other message you'd like to give out to the residents while we have this time?
Yeah, I'm just really excited and full of hope right now because there are so many things in the works. It would be an honor to have everyone's support again to see these things over the finish line. Like I said, we have 3 big parcels of land with so many opportunities and potential to redevelop them to fill our needs. We have the open space funding that's going to start helping us transform our parks, our trails, our historic buildings. We have parking ideas that people are finally clamoring and getting behind that I think we can really make a reality after so long. There's just a lot of things in the works, and there's a sense of community here that's unmatched anywhere. It's what made me fall in love with this town from the get-go. And I think nowadays, when we hear so much talk about this loneliness epidemic, this community means even more to me. It's enriched my lives in so many ways. I have so many intergenerational relationships now from places like the Hub, and so I appreciate everything this community's given me. I want to give back to it, and I would hope everybody is embracing and enjoying that same camaraderie that I've enjoyed for so long while living here.
All right. Well, you know what, Jen? Thank you so much for sitting down with me today and taking time
you
away
for
from
having me.
your work schedule
My
and meeting
pleasure.
up with me and answering everybody's questions. And also thank you for addressing the missing commissioner for the past 7 or so months
You got it.
and letting people know.
Thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye.
You are welcome. All right. Have a good day, Jen.
You too.
Right.
Bye.